What happened to the NBA dunk contest? How did it go from being All-Star Saturday night's main event to arguably the most dreaded event of the weekend? While there can be many answers to that question, I'm here to give an in-depth look at the dunk contest. From a little history, examples of what it takes to have a great dunk contest performance, and thoughts on the evolution or de-evolution of the contest. I'm going to cover a lot, and hopefully by the end, give some closure or even offer a potential solution to the issue that we're wrestling with as fans. But first, I got to take the time to set the scene of what makes the dunk contest an iconic event and provide the standards to its success. The inaugural NBA dunk contest was in 1984 as Phoenix Sun Larry Nance defeated his idol Julius Erving with a cradle dunk, also going against some pretty tough competition in guys like Dominique Wilkins and Clyde Drexler. But technically, the first ever dunk contest was in 1976 before the ABA-NBA merger, which also featured a younger, afro-wearing, cooler than the other side of the pillow, Julius Erving. Okay, this is prime, Dr. J, straight out of Rucker Park, right? Who, with a free throw line dunk, defeated guys like David Thompson, who threw down a 360 just before Julius's dunk, and along with George Gervin and Artis Gilmore, to name a few. Since then, the dunk contest always served as a great build-up before the NBA All-Star Game the next day, and ended a fantastic night where tons of NBA players got to show off their talents, right? They got to show off what they did best in various competitions like the former two-ball competition, or which kind of evolved into what was later the Shooting Stars competition, the Skills Challenge, and of course the three-point shootout. Those competitions were very entertaining, but there was always something special about that dunk contest, okay? Anybody can shoot a three, dribble, pass, and even hit a half-court shot. But not everybody can throw down a 360 or a windmill. So the night always ended knowing something special, even never before seen, was going to happen. Now, if you grew up like I did, then you loved watching some of the most athletic and electrifying NBA stars show off their creativity by throwing down mind-blowing dunks at the end of the Saturday night events. I mean, I remember being 8, 9, 10 years old practicing dunk contest dunks on my Nerf hoop. I would try to create like 4 of the most unique dunks I could create. They were dunks that I was sure nobody was really gonna do or that they've seen before. And, I would get my brother and be like, all right, you got to judge them for me. You got to judge them for me and be honest. And sometimes I would even create like 6 to 8 dunks, just to have backups in case, one of the first 4 didn't go to plan or I found myself in a tiebreaker dunk off type situation. So if you couldn't tell, I was ready. I swore I was going to be in the dunk contest. But that love for the art of dunking came from me being a young NBA historian. Along with my general dream of being an NBA star, it came with the dream of one day being a slam dunk champion. And, it was something special about studying how guys like Dr. J, Michael Jordan, Dominique Wilkins, Spud Webb, Vince Carter, how they could dunk and be so creative, graceful, and powerful all at the same time. And I noticed their competitive edge, right? I noticed their flair and the fact that they usually made their dunks on the first try, right? So over time, I realized it was that kind of excellence in the competition that ushered in a standard for the competition and ushered in a standard of success, a formula, if you will, that would help future players win as well. And so I figured we'd have some fun and call it the Trinity of dunk contest mastery. Okay, if you wanted to win the dunk contest, not only did it help tremendously to make your dunk on the first try to capture that crowd, but your dunks had to have all of these 3 qualities: creativity, power, and showmanship. All right, possessing all 3 essentially guarantees success. However, if the dunk is missing just one of those elements, it could be the difference between a perfect score of 50 or an average score of 40. All right, so let's look at some examples of dunks that possessed all 3 elements that I just listed. First up is Vince Carter's 360 windmill in 2000. Okay, it was creative because we had seen windmills and 360s respectively up to that point, but never had we seen those 2 combined. All right, and then notice how Vince's elevation allows him to punch the ball through the rim. All right, punch it with force, puncturing the silence of the crowd.
All right, here is Vince Carter with his first stop.
and the anticipation that had built up with the echo of his historic slam. So like, you hear guys always saying, oh, I like to silence crowds. Well, in the dunk contest, it's the opposite, right? They're already silent and you get to make them erupt. Okay. And you like absorb that silence and let your dunk do the talking, right? Vince did that perfectly. And, that's why you got to punch it. You know what I'm saying? Like we always say, you got to punch these dunks. It can't be soft, right? And of course, once he lands the dunk and lands on his feet, he didn't just walk away or get back to his seat or whatever. You can just see like that inner determination and self-belief jump out of Vince as it results in a scream as if he just like literally touched the moon and came back down to earth, right? It was momentum driving. He roared with the crowd after he threw down that dunk. So he had the showmanship, he had the creativity, and he had the power. Now, second is Dwight Howard's iconic Superman dunk in 2008. What makes this so dope is that this was Dwight's second dunk attempt, okay? So this was still the first round, yet it was essentially the same attempt that essentially won him the crowd, and as a result, won him the contest. He built up the dunk by, going in the phone booth, going away from the crowd, putting on his Superman cape and his shirt to the Superman theme music, right? Intensifying the hype, the curiosity, right? You see him go away and it's like, what's he going to do? Then you hear the music, the build up, right? It's performance. It's performance. And the building up that anticipation for his great act. He takes it a step further though, right? With that build up, he takes it even further, placing down a piece of tape near the free throw line, insinuating that, hey, I'm going to take off from here, right? I'm going to take off from the free throw line, right? And essentially fly like Superman, right? Now, elite showmanship and creativity from Dwight. But see, then he also brings the creativity to his dunk, because most people who take off from the free throw line are going to jump off 1 foot. It's obvious, right? You want to take off 1 foot and fly to the rim. But you can imagine how hard it is to do that off 2 feet. It's essentially impossible, but not for Superman, right? So Dwight, he attempts this dunk and he really makes this dunk even harder. Like I said, by jumping off 2 feet, and yet still he literally throws the dunk down in powerful force on his first try to snatch the excitement of the crowd and his sole dunk contest win. Okay.
Oh my gosh. You win, young fella. You win.
This dunk was so creative, people didn't even care that he didn't even touch the rim, right? Technically, it wasn't a dunk because his hand didn't even touch the rim. But again, the showmanship, the power, the creativity all around is what you don't even think about that anymore. You just appreciate the moment that he brought. And then the last example is how Zach LaVine completed his Space Jam dunk in his dunk contest debut in 2015. Now, inspired by his favorite movie growing up, Zach came out in a Toon Squad jersey with performers of the classic Space Jam song, right? And again, building that curiosity and anticipation, like, oh, he got the Toon Squad jersey, they playing the song, what's he about to do? And keep in mind, right, similar to Vince Carter, Zach LaVine already had the hype going into the contest as, the favorite because of his high school tapes, his college tapes, his game film. You knew he had bounce. You knew he had creativity. You knew he could dunk the basketball. So low key, that pressure to perform was even greater, right? So like Dwight, though, he checks the showmanship box out the gate. Okay, it's not something he necessarily has to worry about after his dunk because he's put so much into it beforehand. All right, then the creativity kicks in. He tosses it baseline, and instead of a regular through the legs dunk, he goes reverse style and finishes with power, right? You can hear it. Again, like I said about Dwight, it was the silence of the crowd, and they should hear nothing but the loud slam of that dunk. And that's what Zach LaVine did to perfection, especially in this first dunk contest.
Believe it. Oh, yes, he is. What I tell you, do something special.
That was a great exclamation point for his first dunk. He didn't have to do much afterwards, like I said, because the showmanship of the Space Jam performance was enough. So again, all of these guys had those three qualities. They had the showmanship, they had the creativity, and they had the power. So those are various examples of how nailing all three of those primary elements of a successful dunk is key to putting on a show in the contest. Okay, and I bring that up to say this has kind of become a lost art in the recent years. Some guys have the showmanship, but don't make their dunk on the first try. Some guys make a great dunk, but there's no power behind it, so you kind of lose the crowd. Some guys make the dunk, they give the showmanship, but it wasn't necessarily original or creative. Maybe we've seen it the year before, right? And similar to the All-Star game, there has just, I think, been an overall lack of pride behind the dunk contest. And I think part of it is due to the whole, like, we've seen all the dunks before narrative, right? Now, don't get me wrong. I remember seeing Jaime Jaquez just last season do the same dunk we saw Juan Toscano Anderson do in 2022, which is what Obi Toppin also did in 2021. Okay, so almost 3 consecutive years, obviously with the gap in between 2023, 3 consecutive years we saw the same dunk. And it's definitely something to acknowledge, right? Over time, there has just been less and less unique dunks to perform. That's how time goes, However, I think every now and then we get a Zach LaVine. Every now and then we get a Mac McClung, right? More recently. Somebody who has done their homework and has waited their whole life to win the NBA dunk contest. And I think it's gotten lost on people what true creativity is because of this. Creativity isn't always just doing something that's never been done already. That's putting too much pressure on yourself to do something crazy. If you keep in mind that as a human being, as an individual, you are naturally unique, you can, creativity is often found in reimagining or even combining previous ideas that have been done already. Right? Whether this is not even just dunks. It can be with different moves on the floor, with, different dribble moves, scoring moves. Nothing really is new under the sun. It's just, it becomes reimagined. Right? So, I think, like I said, that it's important to recognize that when you're thinking about the dunk contest and the whole, we've seen everything, because we may have, but we truly haven't. Whether it's tossing the ball differently, or on a self alley, or jumping off 2 feet instead of 1 like Dwight Howard did, or, taking literally just a different angle, doing a 360 windmill, off a toss, even trying to figure out how you can do that. Like, what I'm saying? It's all about reimagining things and putting your own spin on it. And I actually do have another example of that kind of creativity, as I want to highlight 2019 champion Hamidou Diallo and his final dunk. Now, you'll notice how he combines the Superman aspect like Dwight, right? Then he has the honey dip, right? The arm in the rim dunk that Vince Carter did. And then he jumped over a person or a prop, and in this case being the 7'1" Shaquille O'Neal. We had seen all those individually, right? We've seen people jump over other players, other people, other props. We've seen Vince Carter put his arm in the rim. Other guys put their arm in the rim. We've seen, again, the Superman thing like Dwight. We've seen those things. But the thing is, Hami, he put all those together, right? So, and even for Hami, right, like being a generally chill guy, he didn't get a ton of minutes that year in OKC. He brought showmanship before the dunk, right? He's given a peek at what's under his jersey. And then afterwards, right, he's dangling on the rim, revealing that S on his chest in what served as a great freeze frame kind of moment. It was perfect execution from the kid. Again, he was a quieter guy, didn't get a lot of minutes on that Thunder team, but he had bounce, and that was his time to shine. And he did it perfectly, So the issue to me is that it's not that we've seen everything before. I think more so what we should be talking about, to put it bluntly, I just think guys lack the homework. They lack the enthusiasm of the contest. A lot of guys like to come out in this contest very chill, thinking it's no big deal. Like they too cool to have some showmanship, or too cool to be creative. But the guys who have not just won it, but the guys who usually make history while they win are the guys who made it their mission to win the dunk contest and included all 3 elements of that dunk contest trinity, right? Despite the general disappointment of recent dunk contests, we've seen winners like Donovan Mitchell, Hami Diallo, and Mac McClung put on some dope performances. However, I do look back at guys like Obi Toppin, Cole Anthony, Ant Simons, Jalen Green. While they had some bright spots, they either took too many attempts to complete a dunk or had a great idea with no power or no showmanship. And of course, when there is a lack of creativity and enthusiasm from the guys that are actually in the contest, it's going to disappoint the fans. But you know what else disappoints fans? The guys we want to see in the contest not accepting their invitations to put on a show. From LeBron, Zion, Ja, and Edwards, we've seen it, right? There are too many athletes in the game today that would make a star-studded group of contestants. And quite similarly to the trends we saw in the 80s, right? When we seen 88 and Clyde was out there, Spud was out there, MJ was out there, Neek was out there, right? It didn't matter how long they've been in the league. The stars were out. And now I will say that, though, I think people are a bit overzealous when it comes to that idea of featuring the best dunkers all in one night, because understand, the dunk contest was always for younger guys and lesser known names. That isn't a new thing. Everybody complains that, oh, who are these guys? Well, in some ways, the dunk contest was always kind of like that. You know, like having a 1988-esque lineup or a duel even between the best dunkers in the league, that's a rarity. Right? It's a reason why those events are historic, because it's rare. You know, I understand that the dunk contest has been pretty underwhelming. So people, they want to revive it with like an absolute Avengers style, you know, lineup of dunkers. And like I said, that makes sense. I'm totally with it. But the reality is that right there has always been more of a dream than it is a reality. You know, think about it. Vince Carter went one and done, right? He got his win and we never saw him again. You know, he did that in his second year in the league, which he probably would have did it his rookie year had there been a All-Star game that season, right? Nate Robinson, this dude has won 3 of the events, right? He's won it 3 times, and he did that all within his first 4 seasons in the NBA. Dwight, he was in it 3 times in his first 5 seasons. Jason Richardson, Zach LaVine, they were in it their first 2 seasons. And then, shoot, look at other winners, right? Desmond Mason in 2001. Rookie Josh Smith, 05. Gerald Green, 07. Brent Berry in 1996. Man, who thought Brent Berry was ever going to be a dunk contest champion, right? Like, he was always a role player. He was never this top tier star. You know, Fred Jones in 04. Jeremy Evans in 2012. Like, the dunk contest was always an opportunity for younger talent and even lesser known players to get some shine. It was never always this star-studded thing. Again, though, I recognize the opportunity that has been missed in today's league, right? With all these athletes, you would think we would have more star-studded dunk contests. I'm with you. I want to see it myself. But, you know, the thing is, if all of these guys, Ja, Zion, Ant, if they have what it takes to win a dunk contest, then why aren't they participating? See, there was a time when we didn't have to worry about the best dunkers passing up a chance to perform in the dunk contest, right? Day one, we knew Blake Griffin was going to be in the dunk contest. It's almost like we as fans were not going to let him say no, you know? But today, you know, there are way too many factors as to why we don't see the top guys participate. You know, some guys, I think, may not thrive in that kind of Tupac environment, right? All eyes on me. You know, it's a lot of pressure. You know, even some of the best guys have said it's a lot of pressure being on that dunk contest stage, knowing everybody's waiting on you to dunk. Everybody's got their eyes on you, cameras, lights, all that. It's too much pressure to perform. And nowadays, you know, I think too, these guys have brands before they even play one single NBA game. So I think they also feel that pressure of potentially losing on that stage, not only as a competitor, but also in fear of the social media ridicule that can come with not performing well. Now, obviously in the grand scheme, ain't nobody going to care if you lose a dunk contest, right? Ain't nobody going to care if you lose and you put your best foot forward. Like, anybody that flames a player for that is just, they got issues of their own that they need to be working on. But I think it's just nowadays these younger guys feel so much pressure that you didn't necessarily have back in the day. Because again, that pride was there to, like, shoot, just competing means a lot for me. So I want to do my best. I want to win, right? And then I think some of it is the fear of getting robbed. You know, that's been a very prevalent thing the last few seasons. You know, we all remember Andre Iguodala getting robbed in 2006 versus Nate Robinson, right? You could argue that Paul George got robbed in 2012 after doing a dunk that we've literally hadn't seen before or since. You know, shout out Jeremy Evans. He really did an impressive job. But, you know, PG has some really nice dunks, and you could say he got robbed. And then, of course, obviously the granddaddy of them all, you know, outside of like the Nick and Jordan situation, Aaron Gordon, right? This dude gets robbed not once, but twice. You know, I think he genuinely got robbed in 2016 and 2020. You know, obviously the 2016 battle with Zach LaVine was on MJ Dominique levels, all-time classic. Zach did his thing. But what Aaron Gordon did with that mascot, I thought should have won him the competition. I mean, when he sat in air underneath the legs, like, come on, man. And again, he punched it. Like, imagine if he missed or if it rattled in or something like that. Like, no, that went straight through the net. It was loud. You heard it everywhere. Like, incredible. But, you know, that happened. And then in 2020, of course, in Chicago, we watched him lose in a dunk-off despite putting on another awesome performance and jumping over 7'5" Taco Fall. He had to lose to Derrick Jones, who, don't get me wrong, had an awesome run. But until this point, he did a windmill. He tried to dunk from the free throw line and stepped way a little bit. There was plenty of room, right? There was noticeable room from his foot and the free throw line, so it ended up being just a regular windmill dunk. A windmill dunk that I've seen Josh Smith do in game handful of times, right? And you mean to tell me that was better than what Aaron Gordon just did? You know, so again, I believe guys have a fear of getting robbed like that. You know, truth be told, I think there is a fear of that. And then, of course, is the injury concern. You know, dunking takes a lot of effort, a lot of energy. You know, I remember Blake Griffin, you know, after that rookie season or maybe after 2012, he was saying, like, I'm going to start, you know, dialing it back a little bit because it takes a lot out of me. And obviously, John Morant's going through the same thing. So a lot of guys, even if they are young, they're thinking of that. You know, you would think young guys aren't worried about that, but they are. And, you know, even more so now than earlier in his career, you know, like I said, John Morant is thinking about that. He even said it in his rookie year. You know, he had a fear of getting robbed by the judges, you know, and then he wanted to focus more on his team success in the future. Zion Williamson, right? The same season, he said, I'm not the quote unquote, I'm not that much of a dunk contest person, which to me is a lie because we seen him participate in high school, you know, but again, he also hasn't been the most healthiest dude. So it's probably good that he never participated and put that extra stress on his body trying to do some crazy dunks, right? And then Edwards allegedly, in his words, doesn't even like dunking, which, you know, we can't tell, right? He seems to put a highlight on every other day. And then even LeBron, right? 2004, he cited an ankle injury for actually pulling out of the competition and calling himself more of an in-game dunker, only to play in the rookie challenge and throw down 10 dunks that game. So, like, something's not adding up. And then might I add, later in 2009, if you remember watching Nate Robinson versus Dwight Howard, you know, he's hype and prisoner of the moment. He says he'll join in 2010. But then when All-Star came around the following year, crickets. You didn't hear nothing from LeBron, right? So I get it. You know, some guys are game dunkers. Some guys are precautious. Some guys value, you know, the playoffs more than a dunk contest, which I totally get. But as a fan of this league and competition, it sucks that the guys who we know would do great in the dunk contest don't even want to participate. So that brings us to the ultimate question, right? How do we get guys to participate? How do we save the dunk contest? Well, I have a real answer, right? I have keeping it 100. I got that kind of answer. And I also have a more optimistic answer, okay? My real answer is that, one, it definitely ain't by throwing YouTubers into it. I can't stand that argument, you know, or giving them 10-day NBA contracts just to do it. Like, it's no longer the NBA dunk contest after that. Like, you know, as a fan, I don't want to see that because folks will still complain, oh, well, the NBA stars aren't participating. Like, why do we have to get YouTubers? So that's going to bring in another problem. It's really going to force the same conversations. Now, aside from that, a lot of it is what I mentioned on my podcast 2 episodes ago about the All-Star game. How the NBA can't do anything to fix a player's lack of passion or pride for the contest. Okay, if these guys don't want to do it, or if they want to go casual about it, you can't make them try. Okay, worst case scenario, you switch the order of the events and end the night with a 3-point shootout until somebody comes along and brings back the thrill of the dunk contest. Okay, to me, that's just worst case. Like, keep the dunk contest, but it just can't be the last event because the last couple seasons, the 3-point contest has garnered more excitement than the dunk contest. So, you know, that's my honest answer. Now, my optimistic answer, you know, kind of thinking a little bit, would be to not just merely invite the players to the competition, but select them. Okay, treat it darn near like jury duty. You know, come mid-January, Adam Silver or whoever it is selects 4 of the best dunkers in the league and drops the list, right? Don't send no invites. Don't drop, like, none of that. Have the guys on Inside the NBA reveal it, right? So, for example, if it was this year, it'd be like, all right, we got the NBA dunk contest contestants to reveal. And this year it's going to be Shaedon Sharpe, Amen Thompson, Ausar Thompson, and Jalen Johnson. You know, they've been selected to participate in the 2025 dunk contest. Like, you just drop the list there, make it plain. I'm not asking you, I'm telling you. You are in the dunk contest right now. And that's going to be in a couple weeks. So, you know, start preparing. You know, that's how I would do it. You know, obviously, of course, there are negatives to that. I'm aware of that. You know, the downside with that is that it still won't stop guys from faking an injury or getting injured for real or simply refusing to participate, right? Being rebellious. But I think it would establish at the very least some kind of commitment for them to say, okay, I got picked, so I should start preparing. You know, again, like I said, I know it does kind of take away from the free will aspect of things. You know, everybody should have a right to be invited and be able to think about it and choose. But at the same time, given the situation we're in, you know, desperate times call for desperate measures. You know what I'm saying? You might got to treat it like jury duty a little bit and be like, boom, these are the 4 NBA players that are in the dunk contest. If they got something to say, they can see me. But, you know, if not, that's what it is. Like, if Adam Silver and the NBA took that approach, I think more guys would be like, well, shoot, if I pull out, does that mean I'm ducking? You know, it'd be more obvious that I'm ducking the competition, right? So it might, there might be a little bit of something there, you know, that's just my thoughts on it. You know, I don't think there's any perfect solution. But those are some that come to mind as I think about reviving the dunk contest. Like I said, a lot of it does come down to the players themselves, and we can't control that, right? But I think if these younger guys can do a little homework, right? A little history lesson and take some pride in how much the dunk contest means to us as fans, you know, to All-Star Weekend and even the general excitement of the league, I think we could see itself, you know, be revived a little bit. You know, even I think of Vince Carter, right? Like, you hear him talk about the dunk contest. He said, man, I watch those tapes every day. I wanted this. Like, and boom, he made a historic contribution to it. So again, that's why I emphasize the homework and the pride of it all, because inherently that's where it comes from. Mac McClung won because of that pride. Zach LaVine won because of that pride. Sure, they're athletically gifted, but like, they wanted that. They wanted that moment. You know what I'm saying? So to me, that's why I stress that, the importance of that. You know, as a fan of the league and this event in particular, I'm always going to watch just to see who takes that torch, or even if we get another all-time duel someday, right? I am an NBA fan. I'm not just going to get my jaws in a bunch and complain. You know what I mean? Like, I'm always going to look forward to see if somebody changes the you know, the trend. At the end of the day, though, you know, because the long time admiration for the dunk has shifted to the 3-point shot, you know, let's be real about that too. You know, I think we've equally seen the momentum shift towards the 3-point contest as opposed to the dunk contest. That makes sense. I still think there's a place for it still, even if it means it can't be the last event of the night, you know, but of course, as with most things, somebody has to be the guinea pig, right? Somebody has to make it cool again for stars to join the contest before more consider joining. That's usually how it goes. And hopefully that day is sooner rather than later. But I guess, you know, we shall see. Because like I said, one man can't solve it. So, you know, I guess we'll see how it evolves. As always, thank you for watching, and be sure to subscribe if you want to see more shorter form content like this. As you may or may not know, I have hosted a basketball and hip hop centered platform, a podcast called Hip to the Games, the past 4 years almost, with all kinds of different content. So if you want the longer, in-depth content from me and learn more about me and what H2DG, what all this is about, that is my main thing. That is my main platform. So there's plenty available across podcast platforms and YouTube for you to enjoy. I'm sure you could find something to enjoy, whether it's both the basketball and the hip hop, or just either one of the other. But, you know, you can find the YouTube episodes if you scroll down on my YouTube profile. Scroll down to the bottom and you'll see the playlist featured at the bottom of my channel, where you can find all the video podcasts that I have up. But like I said, there's a lot more audio because it took me a minute to get onto video. So there's a lot more audio episodes that can be found within the array of links, also shown on my YouTube channel profile as well. All right, so definitely be sure to check that out if you want more from me. Hope you enjoyed this video. Please keep it respectful. in the comments and let me know your thoughts on the dunk contest, any solutions, any memories, all those things are welcome in the comments. But until next time, peace out.